Yo, what's good, everyone? Hopefully, everyone is well and healthy. And again, welcome back to another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. So today we are going to talk about probably one of the more difficult episodes that I've had to talk about because can't tell you why, but I've just been impacted and affected by the music so much. Is the late Albert Johnson, otherwise known as the rapper known as Prodigy from Mobb Deep. So many people know I'm a huge Mobb Deep fan. I relate, because I grew up in the music. My formative years were their formative years. We're all around the same age, both Havoc and Prodigy and myself. No, I don't know them, but I definitely been immersed in their music over the last 20 plus years. It's amazing that the Infamous came out in 95 but everyone keeps forgetting that Peer Pressure came out a couple years before that. So um yeah, just still amazing to me that it's been 4 years since he passed, and that was in June. And one of the many things that was on my mind when I needed a pause from my podcast. But I'm back, season two again. We're gonna get it cranked up. So really, again, celebration of life of Prodigy. So Prodigy grew up in New York. Hempstead is where he was from, on Long Island, but quickly moved to Queens when he was younger. He ended up going to the High School of Arts and Design in Manhattan, and that's where he met Havoc. The first they were called the Poetic or uh, Poetical Prophets before they changed their name to Mobb Deep. So, they 2 years before the Infamous, which everyone knows, '93, they came out with Juvenile Hell. So really, their career took off once '95 hit, and they came out with Shook Ones Part Two, Survival of the Fittest, Eye for an Eye, Drink Away the Pain, et cetera, et cetera. Give Up the Goods, you can't miss that track with their boy Big Noid. But Q-Tip was a huge influence to them as they kind of pulled things together on this album, and they really cemented themselves as one amazing album, one of the most amazing groups in hip hop history. They proceeded then to in '96, and I still remember it's like the winter album of all winter albums. That and um, that one in Liquid Swords, they both kind of came out in November for me. But Hell on Earth was the second album, totally amazing album, different feel, but they definitely responded to Tupac that went at them during that time with Drop a Gem. They also, fired some shots at Keith Murray. They definitely, Hell on Earth was the title track of the track that a lot of people remember. It was really interesting that, Eye for an Eye, we had Raekwon, but Raekwon and Goldface were also on Right Back at You track that was on the Infamous, but then we had Method Man make an appearance on Hell on Earth, which is pretty dope. Um, we also had many of their crew also appear on the album as well. So they're really now cementing themselves as being an amazing group and not just a one trick pony after Hell on Earth came out. Murder Music was the next album that came out a couple years later. Now there was a lot of issues with this album being bootlegged, and they pulled it off, and there was so many different songs. I think they had to go back and rearrange it. So that was the next album that came out. So it's album four. Then Prodigy, again, you read it in Prodigy's book, and I thought I had it here somewhere, but I guess I don't. But um, Prodigy and Havoc kind of had um, difference of opinion as two artists that are in a duo will have. I wouldn't say that they broke up or they hated each other, but Prodigy definitely had some creative juices that he wanted to release. So he released the HNIC album that came out in 2008, which was incredible. Um, and then they came back together, and they came up with Infamy, and everyone remembers the track Burn. Um, and then we also had some other albums that came out. America's Nightmare, which was dope. I still remember the remix with Twista on it. Blood Money, that was the G Unit record. After they had so many issues with record deals at that time. Still, like, I think my second or third favorite Mobb Deep album after the Infamous, and probably Hell on Earth. Um, would be Free Agents, and that's an album they had no record deal. It was like a mixtape, but it was an album. They remixed some old beats, they took some beats from some other people, but Free Agents is a dope album that they came out with. Then he got definitely, Prodigy still was very interested in doing his own music. So HNIC Part 2 came out. Um, kind of did that one independently. Did work with a few other artists, but I think the one I really remember is Albert Einstein, and the he did that with Alchemist. It is one of my favorite albums, period, of all time. Crazy to sound, it's just the way it sounds. Alchemist is like a genius behind the boards. And then, fast forward, if we talk about the last album that came out was the Infamous Mobb Deep. This is after all the prison issues, all the fighting and breaking up, and came back, and they at least gave us that album. Apparently, there may be another Mobb Deep album that's in the chamber that might come out, but who knows at this point. We know that there were a ton of feuds with with the New York, LA beef with the West Coast. That was the East Coast, West Coast beef at its prime. We had some Death Squad issues. We had an issue with Saigon. We had an issue with Crooked Eye. Don't know if all of these are blown over or not. But yeah, like, I think that's kind of where a lot of the things happened with Prodigy. And again, so many things that we think about when we think about this MC. He definitely had his own opinions on how the government worked, and Illuminati, and just a variety of different things that were out there. Even, I think it was on I Shot Your remix, the LL Cool J joint. He definitely talked about some of these pieces that were out there, and Secret Society. I keep my eye on me. I think was with the lyric, or some paraphrase of the lyric that he used. Like, he definitely had some things. His last studio album back in 2017, he was all over this, and I think the album came out after he passed, or right around when he passed. But part of Prodigy's health issues were sickle cell anemia, and they were in his book in a great deal, like, hospital stints all over. But we know that 4 years ago he was performing with a variety of different artists, including KRS-One and Ice-T. I think Ghostface was there too, and he was very ill and had to go to the hospital. And then, you know, I wouldn't say that he succumbed, because that is still a um, a controversy, whether he lost oxygen, or he lost consciousness, or he was not responding, or some people say he choked on an egg. So it's kind of a controversy how he passed away, um, and ultimately is no longer with us. But that is my man Prodigy, and again, he is one of the MCs that means a great deal to me. Um, I highly recommend, if you have never read My Infamous Life, Um, you definitely get a chance to check it out. It is one of my favorite pieces. All right, actually, here we go. Here it is, My Infamous Life. And Prodigy really talks about so many different things. He talks about relationships, yeah, how certain songs were, video shoots, and artists that he almost got involved with, just a variety of different things. It's so cool to read. Talks about his beefs and so many. It's highly recommended. You hear about all the things that him and Havoc went through, but it's amazing that Havoc is keeping the legacy of Mobb Deep going, celebrating every milestone that the group has. I'm sure, obviously, we're getting to Hell on Earth 25th anniversary at the end of this year in November, so that's coming. But shout out to Havoc for keeping the torch going. I know Prodigy and his family are obviously still in mourning, and still it really impacts me that he's not with us anymore. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. So salute to Prodigy, and I know you're hearing us in spirit. But Sneaks and Rhymes in Life loves you. Got my Queen's Infamous hat on and my Mobb Deep sweater on. But yeah, Prodigy is one of my favorites, top 10. Lyrically, he was ferocious. He was like 5-0. I still remember the time that I saw him in person. Like, he actually came to shop in a Foot Locker that I ran at the time, and he was just not interested in talking to anyone. So no photo op, no nothing. But it was like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy that cooks up those lyrics, and that's the guy that is just like, he's like 8 feet tall lyrically. And Prodigy, I just want to say, if you're hearing me, and I know you are, that I miss you, and you always will be one of my favorites, and I always will hold Mobb Deep in the highest regard. But until next time, everyone, yeah, uh, that Sneaks Rhymes in Life. One of my favorites. Unfortunately, there's way too many of these amazing MCs that are passed. But on another note, we'll get at you next time.